to increased cost to those who have to wrestle with this section. I haven't had time to talk about the flawed collaborative processes or the other...
I'm going to call up Marama Fox.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Finally, the opportunity to address the claims that are coming from the opposition. So let me just start with this. When we would you like to hear the answer? When we negotiated this SOP, I'm referring to SOP 281 in my name, we did so with Pure Hawke's Bay. We had them on the phone throughout the entire drafting of the wording of this supplementary order paper. And we negotiated the terminology. Should we use crops for pasture, crops for human consumption, crops for animal consumption, crops for forestry, and so on and so on and so on. They asked us, their words, to use crops, not determine them by their individual parts, because then if there is a bit that we missed out accidentally, it's specific in the law and it's too late. Their words. We had to negotiate to get those in. They were actually more happy to do that, and Pure Hawke's Bay asked us to do so on their behalf. So therefore, we went and we said, OK, well, we need to make sure that this does in fact cover the things that we believe that it covers, because I don't want a thin slice of pastrami, I want a carve-out that we can bank on. But here's the point first before I go to what I believe that carve-out does give us. Even if we did not have a carve-out, even if we did not get a carve-out for GE, the iwi Chair's technical advisors were happy to go with it, and this is because in order to enact 360D powers, and remember we've already got out 360A, B and C, so in order to enact 360D powers, the Minister is obligated to prove that there are two duplication of law. He has to prove that. It is subject to judicial review. So when he does that, he has to notify the public, the relevant local and iwi authorities, what the Minister proposes to do. He has to create a process that considers all the parties and gives them adequate time and opportunity to have their say. He needs to receive the report from that process with the recommendations and feedbacks, and then give an evaluation report of that for everybody to see. Having done all of that to ensure that there was transparent and robust decision-making, the Minister must have particular regard to the evaluation report that then comes to him and make that public. And all of that is subject to judicial review. So there were members of our negotiation team who said, well, actually, if it's that onerous and locked down, it would be very difficult for the Minister to ever enact. Ever. And we said, well, I'm not so sure about that. I want a carve-out, please, because I don't believe that that is so. And so I can see that it's all there and it's subject to judicial review, and those are all of the exact steps from the law that he has to go through. So then we get the wording as approved by Pure Hawke's Bay. Shall I say that one more time? Pure Hawke's Bay. And we had it... Well, that's all right. You've asked me to answer the question. Put the question before me, Mr Chair. I'm simply attempting to answer. And so then these are the terms that we have agreed with the Minister's office that we can use for words, for our lines, about what that means. The Māori Party supports these amendments on the understanding that, as negotiated with the government, they preserve the region's ability under local plans to regulate all types of GM crops in their territories, including forestry and grasses and any activities involving the growing of GM crops, whether for commercial or other purpose. Thank you. Shall I say it one more time, or are we clear now? Well, they're here in my hand. These are agreed lines that I'm allowed to use in relation to this supplementary order paper. And I have just read out from the law the process by which, under 360D, the Minister is able to use. So here in our SOP, that's what we determine crops means, including grasses and forestry. Those are in my notes. So that is our supplementary order paper. This is determined by the Hawke's Bay and, Mr Chair.
Marama Fox.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And therefore, with the agreement that we have been able to get, we believe that does have it covered. Now, obviously, that might be up to judicial review in the future, but the Minister would have to act only if he believes that there is a duplication of the law. And he has to prove that through judicial review, having already gone through those onerous steps. So it's up to you, actually, the Labour Party, and specifically Meka Whaitiri, because this is your region, whether you want to disagree with Hawke's Bay Pure and vote against my supplementary order paper. Take that on board. That is completely up to you. You can choose to do that if you wish, and you can explain yourself to them because they have endorsed it. I have been to seek the approval of the iwi, and they have endorsed it. I've been to seek the approval of the chair of the iwi of Ngāti Kahungunu, and he has endorsed it. So if you would like to vote against it, you go right ahead, and you can explain why you would do that to the region of the Hawke's Bay, and let's include the Northland as well, because they're very concerned about it, and every other GE organisation that has sat in my office over the last year, who we have consulted widely throughout this entire process. Now, I know that there are some people who are a little bit annoyed about that, but we have attempted to ensure that collaborative planning processes can happen in regions with iwi and all concerned groups for the betterment of their region to enact what they believe is necessary for the growth and development and protection of the resources in their region. Mana whakahono arrangements do it. They do it through collaboration with iwi. Local governments are able to do it, and if the Minister would like to enact, he has to override and prove that there is a duplication of legislation. So the onus is on the Minister to prove that local governments and regional councils can feel assured that their decision-making ability in their territories has been upheld, and we have not sold them down the river. And yes, historical the Māori Party is, because nobody would have thought that this Māori Party would have the influence of a right-wing government to allow it to have a voice. And I'm appalled. I'm appalled at the Labour Party, who purport to represent the interests of Māori, that they would dare vote against the voice of those people who carved out this agreement by our side. Oh no, don't worry, Mr Chair. Thank you. Don't worry. I think the people have well and truly seen that there is overwhelming backing down of supporting of iwi from different parties in this government to have their say, because there is some sort of a rational fear that a mana whakahono arrangement in conjunction with a collaborative planning process of their own local and regional council cannot be upheld. And I think that is irrational, and I stand amazed. I stand amazed at New Zealand First, who rolled out the iwi-Kiwi debate just in time for the election. But you know what? Carry on. Because every time you do, your old people who listen to you belittle Māori are turning around and going, why did we do that? We are coming home to the party that is representing their interests in collaboration with the iwi that they pretend to support. So, Mr Chair, I do believe that the supplementary order paper that I've presented tonight does include a carve-out for crops as described by me in this speech, and you can check the Hansard if you're a bit sceptical about that, and quote me if you like. But vote against it at your peril if you come from the Hawke's Bay or Northland or any other region that thinks GE is important to them.
Mr Chairman?
I'm going to call Julianne Genter.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Very pleased to be able to take a call in this debate.